Hey everybody, and welcome to Axion Token Channel. Woohoo! So we're gonna have a lot of fun with this for sure, and get into the chat, folks. If you haven't subscribed, like, share, hit the bell, and get in there, folks. And if of course you want to join as a member, hit the join button. What else we got going? We got Solex in the house already. Let's reach 3,000 subs. Let's go. Let us. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. We've got to head towards 3,000 subs. We're sitting on 2,200 subs at the moment. We've got to rock on up to 3,000 for sure. Of course, we're going to be looking at Warp Bond today, GameFi Metaverse. So Warp Bond, GameFi Metaverse, in depth, and of course this is on Polygon network. So it's going to be pretty cool. We're going to look at captain strategies, tokenomics, and benefits. Hopefully, we'll get some captains on the chat here. That'll be pretty cool too, and hear from them. So looking forward to that. So going to gold. Let's just make sure the audio is up and running. Doesn't seem like the audio is up, so not sure what's happening there. So make sure that's up and running. Just got to double hear the sound there. Make sure. Is that going? Yeah, that's running. So I thought it was off for their second. It seems to be going fine. Got to do the audio check from time to time, that's for sure. So we're going to mute that. Anyway, so welcome everybody. We're going to talk about Warp Bonds. And so let's go. We're on the Warp Bond website. Looks amazing. Of course, the development team is the Axion development team has developed Warp. So very exciting to see that. And of course, Warp Bonds are faster than light. So pretty awesome stuff there. Now, basically, this is a GameFi project. That means it's a gamification or game mixed with DeFi or decentralized finance. You mix them together. It's basically a fun way of doing investments. And of course, this is set in a sci-fi space metaverse. So pretty exciting to see this play out. Now, bonds faster than light. So it also based on the OHM or treasury pool. And of course, as people bond, they invest and they basically build up the treasury of the project. And we're going to check all that out later. On top of that, of course, when you do that, you get yourself a chance to get a one of the parts of a ship. Every time you bond, you can get that. And you can also, the more that you bond for that part, the more stronger that part will be, the bigger strength it will have. The other side, of course, is that you can put a whole ton of parts together and make a new ship. And those ships is what you send around in the metaverse to new planets to get what they call staking returns or APY. So it's pretty huge like that. That is the game. You want to get staking, get a high APY, go to the planet with the highest APY. Typically speaking, that is the overall goal. We're going to get into a lot of the details. That's a bit of an overview, but here we are on the Warp Bonds website. It looks amazing, to be honest. It looks very, very cool. So don't forget to get in the chat, folks, as we go. We'll have more people coming on to the live stream as we go there too. Pretty cool. All right, make sure I've got my studio up and running in case people come in. Now, I'm just going to send the invite out if you want to jump on. Feel free. I'm going to put that in the chat there. Obviously, it's a family show, so just keep it to family standards there. So very, very cool. That is the link there if you want to jump on the live stream and have a chat about your strategies and your experience on Warp Bond so far. So let's check that out. So pretty much it's got the highlight there. You got some ships, pretty amazing. Here is the user interface. We're going to check that out as we go. And of course, good social media. There's lots of videos on the official Warp YouTube channel you can check out. Basically, this is in a nutshell. You travel from Earth and you can travel to other planets. Of course, Proxima B is the first planet to be opened up in addition to Earth. Now, you can stake on Earth and earn a really good APY, or you can go stake on another planet like Proxima B and earn a great APY there as well. So that's pretty much how it is. Basically, you have to send your ship there. Your ship does take some time to get there, just depending on how much fuel it's got in it, how good the ship is, basically. And you can see that how it travels there. It looks pretty good at animation there. Pretty much shows you how much time it takes. So if you're the first ship to get there, you will get the highest APY yield out of that planet. So pretty cool. Now, I would say that you probably, as a strategy, you kind of need to think that you've got to do a certain amount of investment to get to make the yields give you a good US dollar return. So you've got to think about that. And also the price of Warp itself on the market will fluctuate around as well. So we'll check all that as we go. I think we've got Inga Peterson in the house, have we? We have. Good morning, says Inga. Hey, Inga, good to see you in the house there. Very, very cool. It's been a while, actually. So a pleasure to have you in the chat there as well. Cool. All right. So you've got lots of cool stuff. So you have to spend a fuel cells to get to power your ship. Pretty much travel to different solar systems as they're released. And, of course, each planet represents a different staking pool with the own APY bonus. Spend extra fuel to be the first to arrive and earn the largest bonus of the game. So that is the game in a nutshell there. that looks pretty cool. We're going to get in depth though, so that you can work out more stuff. Obviously, the way you invest is you buy bonds. You don't get that money back. It goes into the treasury. In return, you get warp at a discount to the market price. And of course, you get a part of a ship, which you can put together to make a full ship and start traveling the stars to get the IAPY. These are the parts that you need: a hull, a bridge, and an engine. You'll get a random part every time that you do a bond on the platform, so you don't know which one you're going to get, but you're chasing these down. Now, you can buy them also on the secondary market on OpenSea. We're going to check that out during the live stream as well. You can get that, and of course, very cool. Now, these parts in Season 1 are limited as well, 10,000 parts each, and of course, the fuel cells are unlimited, so no limit on these. Very cool. Once your ship is built, you can expend fuel cells to travel to different planets. Fuel cells are earnable by bonding and can be bought and sold on OpenSea, so pretty easy to follow there. Season 1 starships look fantastic, and of course, it's going to be Season 2, Season 3, etc. And as the seasons progress, there's going to be a lot more features opened up inside the metaverse of Warp Bond, so it's going to be pretty exciting as well. We've got Solix in the house there. Solix says, morning, Inga. Good one, Solix. Nice. And obviously, it's very welcome community. So here we've got Subtle Shuttle here. We've got a Dragonflyer. We've got a Hercules. We've got a Horizon. We've got a Javelin. We've got a Viper, a Starhammer, a Omen, and we've got a Vanguard and a Pearl. Pearl are the rarest ships that there are. They do have slight difference in their rarity there, so take that into account. 40,000 parts, 10,000 unique starships, NFT functionality unlocked at launch. So these starships are NFTs. All the parts that you get on there are NFTs or non-fungible tokens, which basically means that they're a smart contract that has something unique or special built into it. In this case, the particular part and its features are unique. So pretty cool. So that's what people are after. Now, you can buy and sell ships and parts on OpenSea. We will check that out. Of course, it looks pretty cool. You can see the artwork is fantastic and looking awesome there. What the heaps of Warp launch partners, of course. Polygon, Synapse, Tomb, Frax, Polydodge, Beefy Finance, Yield Enhanced Labs, QDAO, Polypunks, Axion, of course, Project Godjira, what's that? Galactic Gang, Hillbilly Holler, Luxy, of course, which is the OpenSea. That is an NFT platform about to launch soon, I believe. MaticNews.com, Las Vegas Inferno, and many more coming down the pipeline. It's going to be a pretty extensive list of partners there. The tokenomics, very briefly. Obviously, it's played on Polygon network. A minimum bond amount is 250 as a minimum. You can actually bond way stronger than that, and the several thousand up to $5,000, I think, gets you the maximum strength there. Listing is on Sushi Swap, so you can buy and sell Warp, which is the tokenomics token there on Sushi Swap. Initial supply was 1,000 Warp and $250, and initial liquidity was 200,000 DAI, 800 Warp, 200 state Warp. But that's all changed now that it's been live for a couple of weeks now. And the launch treasury started 100,000 DAI. Launch bond discount 15% was the start, and 10% on mine DAI. Those are both changed now too since the launch. The minimum bond 250, of course. Season 1 starships NFT. There's going to be 10,000 bridges, 10,000 hulls, 10,000 engines, and unlimited fuel cells. Obviously, you got to travel around the planets. You need that fuel unlimited. Launch editions, of course, starships is going to be 100 starship NFTs in the launch edition, and of course, development 10% fee on bonds. So every time that you invest, let's say you invest $100, $10 is going to go to the team, of course, or if it's 250, say that would be $25. 10% royalties on Warp NFTs. So if you've got those, going to be 10 on Warp NFTs, 20% on Warp Lightning Fund, and a centralized listing, partnerships, and giveaways in that as well. Deflationary measures, which is pretty unusual in OHNs or OHMs, is having deflationary measures. So that's a really good insight from the team, or foresight, I should say. 5% burn on all sales. If you're selling Warp, there will be a 5% burn fee. And of course, that gets off the market, exchanging Warp for another token. 2% burn also when withdrawing stake under 3 hours. If you've staked on a planet, and you early unstake that, then within 3 hours, you will get charged a 2% penalty on that. So in total, if you were going to unstake and then sell, that would be 7% if you did it within 3 hours. If you do it outside the 3 hours, of course, it would just be 5%. That's pretty much it. Now, there's a View the Warp Git book. That is awesome if you want to learn everything about it. And, of course, there's a short form there in the FAQs. You can check that out. But it looks pretty cool, right? So you're traveling the stars. And, of course, it's a fun way of doing investments. Hence, it's why it's called GameFi. Now, obviously, you're going to be a captain of your ship. And here is the team that is behind the whole platform, the Metaverse. And of course, you got all of the popular people there. Very, very cool. Below the deck, of course, a lot of the people there as well. You got moderators, developers, marketers, all sorts of stuff, people in there. Very, very cool. Join the launch. Of course, it's already launched, been launched for a couple of weeks. So very, very nice on that. So those are some of the highlights. Obviously, if you want to get into the access into the app, you click the warp there, and that will take you to this place here. This is the warp app. We're going to get into this a bit more. Then we're going to go into deep dive into some of the features. We're going to be talking about the captain strategies, the tokenomics, and of course benefits. Now, if you're a captain, you get onto the hit the link and get onto the live show here. You can join me and let's talk about your strategies, your experience. We'd love to see that on live show. So definitely get into that. John Atkins in the house. Hi, Suitman, Solex, and Inga. Hey, good to see John, an Axiom token member, and FBAM's in the house. Hello, everybody, and Suitman. Nice one, FBAM. Bam Bam's here. It's got to be good. All right, so let us get on to it, folks. Here we are on the dashboard. This gives us an overview. It gives an overview of your wallet as a captain. This is obviously an empty wallet here, but this is what you'd have: starships, parts, and fuel cells. The amount of warp that you have staked, the amount of warp that you have bonded, and the amount of liquid warp that you have. The total warp, and then the dollar value of your warp. So it's a bit of a dashboard about your system. If you had a ship traveling between the stars, as it were, between the planets, then you would have starships in transit. And what else we've got going here? We've also got, obviously, the warp economic overview. This gives you an overview of the whole system. You can see how that's working. We're going to go through that briefly later. You got the stake page, of course. This is where you stake. This is the main place. If you're looking at doing investments and getting a good return, then you've got to have strategies around that. You've got to play the tokenomics as best you can. So obviously in season 1, there's going to be 5 planets. We've got Earth already. We had Proxima B open up a couple of days ago. And of course, then we're going to have 3 unknown planets coming up as well. I think we can tell the color. The color of these planets, red, purple, and blue from the looks of it. And this one was orange, so pretty cool. Now you can see that the APY is different, 3,888%, and the APY here is 17,609. So that's the APY there. And that APY means annual percentage yield. Typically, it allows you with some sort of compound value on there. So pretty cool, as opposed to annual percentage return, which is more like just a flat manual rate. All right, so that's cool. So Earth at the moment is 3,888%. That's definitely the lowest I've seen. Obviously, there's a lot of people on Proxima B now. That's 17,609, so definitely a better APY there. But the bottom line, of course, is down here, is every time that you stake, every 8 hours you get paid out. That's what we call a rebase there. Every 8 hours is a rebase, and it increases the index by 0.1 every time an index goes up after 8 hours. So you can see there's been 6 times 8 hours on Proxima B so far that people have been earning, and they've been earning this yield here, but that changes as time goes on. So pretty much changes as resources are mined out of the planet, but also as people stake. So as the TVL goes up, that percentage yield will go down as well. So pretty cool. Now, there are 316 ships docked or traveling to Proxima B. It'd be nice to see that broken out. So hopefully the team might do that in the future. Upgrade there to break out the ships docked and traveling to. Be a nice little statistic. Now, you can have your next yield of 0.47%. So that's within 8 hours. And a return on investment over 5 days is what we call a bond period. Similar to bond period, we have that 5-day rate is 7.34%. So that's what your return will be. So obviously, the bigger, if you think about strategy, the bigger dollar investment that you're putting in, the bigger return you're going to get, right? Because you got that percentage on a big dollar amount. But you'll definitely want to keep track of the market price. And of course, you want to see the market price being quite stable. That would also help as well. So cool. All right. So you got to, I would say, if you're going to look at and doing investments, set up a spreadsheet, have your costs of your ships, etc. And then, of course, you keep track of your returns that you're making, and to make it profitable for you. That's the whole point, right? Doing an investment, you want to have the investment side with the spreadsheet probably set up. And then, of course, the GameFi is just building your ships, enjoying the artwork, sending your ships to other planets. That's really part of the gamification there. It's very cool. So hence we call it GameFi. All right, so cool. Obviously, there's no ships docked here. You need to have a ship docked at the planet. That's why you need to get ship parts and build ships and all that sort of stuff, get fuel. And you can stake there and unstake. So that's pretty cool. Remember, if you unstake within 3 hours, you will get a 2% penalty on the amount of warp that you've staked there. Just take that into account. We don't want you to get tricked out by that. So that's pretty cool. And you can see that that is the underlying number there that you're looking for when you're thinking about your strategy. So obviously Proxima B, if you've got a ship there, you're going to get 7.34% in over 5 days. At the moment, that will change. But the one that you will get is this next reward. That's the one that you can have certainty about, 0.47%. And of course, compared to Earth, that is pretty good. 0.33% on there, 5.17% over 5 days. So definitely you're making a bigger yield on Proximity B. And of course, when another planet opens up, people will be racing to that planet. And of course, the first ones get there will get a pretty high APY from there. So if they're staking a lot of warp, that will give them a high amount of warp. So that's what they're after, to get a nice little return on that. So pretty cool. You can actually spin the planet around, which is kind of cool. I like that feature. But compared to Earth, Earth has 462 ships stocked there. That's definitely jumped. That wasn't that high yesterday, I don't think. 316. Yeah, that looks like it's changed around. The amount of TVL locked in there is 115,000. So everyone's got ships there. And 115,000 means that you basically... that's how much of warp people got locked pretty much in there. So definitely people are mostly staked on Proxima B and got their ships either docked there or traveling to. Pretty cool. That's about it. So when you do stake, of course, you'll have your staked on Earth balance. That will your balance will show here. Your next reward will show here. And then when it ticks over, when it's 3 hours and 44 minutes ticks over, the index will go up by 0.1 or 0.0.1. And 0.01, I should say, and that will go up to 1.27, etc., 1.28, etc. as every 8 hours periods go on, and you'll be able to collect that will get compounded to your balance. You'll be able to as your stake balance. So it's pretty cool. You get that compounded APY. Liquid balance, of course, if you've got some liquid warp in there, it will show up there too, and you can stake that here. Very cool. You do have to prove it first of all before you do it, so just make sure that that's an easy step to do. So pretty cool on there. That is the heart. That's the goal. That's the investment. And that's what people are chasing. They're trying to build ships and send them to this planet, get there first, get the high APY, get that edge, as it were, and get a higher returns. Pretty nice. Now, if you're wanting to, that's the goal of your investment. If you want to get a bond, of course, you have to come in here. And when you're getting a bond, remember, you're putting that money's going into the treasury. You don't get that money back per se. You get warp back. So basically, you're buying warp cheaper than the market price, right? That's basically what you're doing. So you got 3 options of doing that to get a bond. So you're buying warp, and you also get a bonus. You get a bonus NFT, which is a ship part, a part of a ship. So you can build a ship. It's pretty cool. So you got Maya you can use on Polygon. You got DAI you can use on Polygon, and you can also set up a warp DAI LP setup. And of course, that will get you a better discount. So 6%, and 9% is the discount that you get to market. So you're getting more warp than you would otherwise get on the buying on SushiSwap at the market rates. But you're also, on top of this discount, you're going to get a NFT if you do $250 or more. If you do under $250, then you're only just you're getting the discount, which is nice, but you are not getting the bonus NFT, the warp part. So what does that mean? So if you've got this discount here, let's say you've got DAI, it's a 6% discount. The market price of warp at the moment is 355. So if you take your 6% discount, that means you're effectively getting warp for $335. Does it make sense? Hope that makes sense there. And that's pretty much the price that you're getting at. So cool. Your balance is going to be here. If you are doing $250 or more, this here will say yes, the qualifying bond, and you'll get an NFT showing up on your in your hangar. So it's going to be pretty cool. So if you want to do the LP one with the 9% discount, you can get the warp here, and just click on that. That will take you to this add liquidity page here. So it's cheaper to do it this way. And of course, you don't get the 5% penalty by selling warp. If you want to sell some DAI for warp, you don't get penalized there. Very cool. Once you got your bond set up, of course. So once you do that, you just accept that. You'll get your bond set up, and of course, you'll get dripped your bond over 5 days. So bond period is 5 days. You'll slowly get dripped that warp that you bought at a discount over 5 days, and you can claim that and put it into your wallet, or you can automatically stake it, and it will go to the stake page, and it will show up staked here on the stake Earth here. So it will show up here once you claim and stake that. Pretty cool. On the hangar, of course, you're going to get your NFT part that you get that bonded. Will show up here: hull, bridge, engine, and fuel cells. You don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get one of these. And the strength of this will depend on how much you actually bonded. So if you bond $250, which is the minimum to get the NFT, that's how much strength it will have. If you do $2,500, that's how much strength it will have, and they significantly help you in the game. That's pretty much it. So let's take that into account. So cool. And once you've got your Starships parts, you can then go build a Starship. If you've got all the Starships, and you can do that. And if you've got, as long as you've got these parts collected, you'll be able to build a Starship. So it's very, very exciting. And then you can manage your ships over here on the fleet manager. So no starships detected, so you can do that there. You can also buy them on OpenSea, and you'll have ships here. So if you buy one on OpenSea on the secondary market, you'll be able to see them here. If you build them in the Starship Factory, which is the primary market, obviously you get those by getting bond parts, then they'll show up here. Also, fuel center. If you need to get some fuel, you can also enter the fuel center here. You must have available fuel cell with at least one fuel point order to refuel it. You can fuel cells through bonding or buying on OpenSea, so you can do that too. So pretty cool there. Then there's the map, of course. We've got the planets. You just select the planet there. Looks good there. So current APY tells you how many ships are docked. The next rebase in 3 hours and 40 minutes. So if you can get there before that, you'll be able to get access to the current payout and the TVL locked in at the moment. So pretty cool. You select your starship. If you've got one there, you'll select that, and away you'll go. You'll end up traveling. So basically what you do is traveling. You'll end up having a starship in transit. We'll tell you how long it takes you to get there. We're going to look at all those details shortly. Pretty cool. There's also a neat little calculator, and of course that based on the price of warp. So you've got to take that into account. It will tell you what your APY will be depending on how much you've got in there. And of course, you just scale it with the days to work that out. So that pretty much is an overview of the warp game or metaverse. Very cool. And let's jump over to the Git book here, and we're going to go through a couple of things. So this is pretty much the library of Warp Bond. I think it's pretty cool. Hey, we've got Kim in the house. First of all, hi sir and a source. Hey Kim, good to see you and welcome. And Solix says, I wonder how factions and battles will work. Hit the like, says Solix. Nice one. And yes sir, says Kim. Hey, so yeah, good point about factions and battles. We're going to talk about that. And that is something that's supposed to come up in season 2. And of course, battles, though, however, it looks like they're going to be brought forward. So I think we might have that all open up in season 1. We may not have to wait for season 2 for that. So it looks pretty promising. We could have that in a week or so. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works as well. Kim says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like it. And hit the likes. Yeah, absolutely. So nice. All right. So, yeah, definitely that's something we're going to talk about. But let's have a look at a bit of the gamification first, and then we'll jump back to the tokenomics. Because that's the kind of thing we're looking at, tokenomics and benefits. Let me know if you're a Starship captain, you want to come on. Don't forget to hit the link at the top of the stream there, and you can join in there. So there's the stream link there. You can definitely jump in and tell us how your strategy is, how your experience has been. We'd love to hear that from you as well. All right, so far here we got on the planets. This is the NFE ecosystem. So with Warp, so you can see that you travel from one planet to another planet. There's a third planet that's going to open up soon. Pretty much. That's going to be exciting to see that. So with Warp, users will build starships that allow them to travel between multiple staking pools. So each planet has a staking pool, basically, with each new planet that is released. Each planet represents a different staking pool with a different APY bonus. Every new planet released, a gold rush comes into play. Because basically when a new planet launches, everyone wants to jump to it. Just like this. It's basically you're trying to hunt for the best APY. And of course, you've got to trade that off with the amount of travel, the fuel that it will cost you. So pretty cool. And with the huge APY available to the first captains to reach a new planet, granting them access to the plentiful resources. As the rest of the starships arrive over time, the APY will lower proportionally. Meanwhile, on the first planet, APY will increase as max exodus leaves fewer people on their own planet, making staying put an interesting economic option as well. But what we've actually seen is that the APY for Earth hasn't really risen too much. I think it's had 1 or 2 little rises, but I think the resources have been quite highly mined. So the APY is definitely lower, but as we see, it's still 5.17% on 5 days versus Proxima B at the moment, which is 7.34%. So that's on your APY there. So Earth is still looking pretty good, but the planet APY is definitely a lot smaller and hasn't risen as high as some may have thought they're on Earth. And don't forget that there's 3 times as much people staking in TVL value than there is on Earth at 115. So pretty interesting stuff there. So, all right. So definitely a better yield coming out of Proxima B, given the fact there's 3 times more stakers versus the yield there. So interesting stuff. All right. So what else we got going there? Meanwhile, on the first planet, the APY will increase as the max exodus, making staying put an interesting economic option as well. Now, if you don't have a ship, you don't have fuel cells and stuff like that, then you will be on Earth. You can just mine on Earth, just keep mining on Earth. You can buy ships on OpenSea and things like that. There are strategic options for you. If you want to do that, you can just keep mining on Earth and just keep buying that and earning that yield on there. That's what you can do. Travel time and traveling between planets takes time. Now, a lot of people ask this, what is the travel time? Traveling between planets takes time and requires fuel. Before traveling to a different planet, captains have to fuel their starships with enough fuel to make it to the other planet. And of course, we've seen that here on the hangar. We've got the fuel center here. You can get fuel cells there as well. And of course, you can get your parts in here as well. So you can actually get random parts for bonds. But if you want to refuel, there's a fuel center there for the points there. So pretty nice. Let us jump. You got to make sure it's not completely exhausted though. It's got to have at least one fuel point on there. So cool. Let's jump back to there. So nice. Traveling between two adjacent planets requires a minimum of 250 fuel, which is basically $250 or 250 strength, and takes 24 hours. Okay, so that's the maximum. The slow ships, these are people that typically have the minimum of 250. Will take 24 hours. Fueling up Starship with more fuel will make the Starship go faster, however. So if you've got a higher one, if you've got 500 on your fuel, that's going to make you go way faster. Does arrive to the destination before others. So if a new planet opens up, you're going to have the high APY. You're going to get there first while you get there faster than the other ships. So the rest of the ship fleet, you'll get there faster. So if you see the thumbnail on this video, you see all the ships racing, you'll be in another pack of ships ahead of them, and that's for sure. All right, so let's have a look at an example. Fueling your ship with 500 fuel to travel from Earth to Planet 1, which in this case is Proxima B, will mean your ship will arrive to the Planet 1 in 12 hours instead of 24 hours. So that's pretty awesome. So if you had $250 fuel cell, then it's going to take you 24 hours. If you set that up high at 500, then it's going to be 24 hours. But you got to trade off the price that it's going to get you for those differences. So just take that into account. Instead of 24 hours, you're fueled it with twice as much fuel. So if you're doing a large investment, that might actually play out for you. It just depends on the APY that you're getting relative to, because the APY is going to be quite high when you first get there. And once you get to the planet, you get the stake or your warp that you bought. And that's the way. This way you need a spreadsheet to make sure that you're getting the right economic outcome for yourself because there's moving variables there. Twice as much. Fueling it with 1,000 fuel would make the Starship to arrive at 6 hours. 4 times more fuel translates to 4 times less time. So pretty easy there. Making your Starship travel faster is extremely important when traveling. My recommendation was there if you're a smaller investor, you might want to get one ship, one fuel, go to another planet. You've got to make sure that you've got enough warp invested to offset that fuel cost and, of course, some capital cost over time and get your return. So you see how it works. It really is gamification and decentralized finance mixed together. It's a really good idea to have a spreadsheet so that you are getting the best result out for you. Making a Starship travel faster is extremely important when they're traveling between distant planets. Traveling from Planet 1 to Planet 5 would take 4 days, okay? We haven't seen that yet, okay? So at the moment, we've just got Proxima B. So if we look at the planet here, we've got Proxima B, that's 1 day. But if we're looking at any of these planets out here, that could be 4 days. So just take that into account on Planet 5 here. This one here would be 4 days to travel. That will make fuel even more important. So if you do $250 fuel versus $400 fuel, so as we get to new planets, it's actually going to be increasingly more beneficial for people to spend more on fuel to get the better rate there. So that's pretty fascinating. That is really cool gamification. We haven't even seen that yet. That's going to be mad crazy when we see that. Really, really is cool. Right, so cool. Making your ship travel faster would take 4 days and require minimum fuel of 1,000, 4 times 250. So pretty cool. Fueling your Starship with more fuel will take your Starship arrive faster at the destination planet and benefit from a much higher APY for all. So we'll just read that one more time because it might catch people up. Traveling from Planet 1 to Planet 5 would take about 4 days and require a minimum fuel of 1,000. All right, 4 times 250 fuel. All right, so that's how long it's going to take. So pretty much it costs you $250 to travel or strength points, depending on how you got it. You could get it, buy it off the market. It might be a lot cheaper, and that would cost you $250. So that would cost you $250 for every 24 hours that you do. Be interesting to see if you are on Planet 4 and it's only 1 day to Planet 5. So it'd be interesting whether that exists. I'm not sure if that does or not. Engine, let me know in the chat if you've heard about that. Engine strength, speed up. Besides the fuel, your engine strength also plays an important role in how fast your ship travels between planets. Okay, so we've seen that already. If we go to the warp part, we've already got in the hangar here, and we go to your Starship parts, we've got the fact that you've got an engine here as one of the parts of your ship. You've got fuel cells. You need to have good fuel cells, but your engine also plays a part in how fast you get to the planet. So it's pretty interesting. Starship with an engine of 250 strength will arrive to a planet in 24 hours. A Starship with an engine with 5,000 strength will arrive to another planet in 12 hours, half the time. The usual 250 points minimum still applies. You can use the following formula to calculate how much your time travel is cut down by based on your engine strength. So speed up is 1 plus the engine strength divided by 250 times 0.05. Travel time is travel time divided by the speed up function. So pretty cool. If our starship with an engine had strength of 5,000, would want to arrive to another planet in 1 hour, unlike the starship that has an engine of 250 and required 6,000 fuel points. This one would only require 3,000 fuel points, since its engine strength alone is cutting the travel time in half. So basically, have a really fast engine and higher fuel points, and you'll get there a lot faster, basically. And if you've got a very strong engine strength, then you don't need as high fuel strength if you want to get there comparably at the same time or faster. Basically, if you have a powerful engine, you will get this. Have to spend less on fuel cells to speed up your travel time. So that might be a capital cost consideration, especially if you're bonding and not buying off the OpenSea market that you take up front. So I'm going to have a stronger engine. It will always get me there on average faster. I'm just going to make sure that I get to the planet first, have a decent amount of warp to invest, and then I'm getting that recover, particularly if you're thinking about US dollar equivalents, which most people will be thinking about. Then you've got to set up a spreadsheet for that. The minimum travel time to your starship can reach a different planet is 1 hour. Regardless of how much you fuel it up, when you arrive at the destination planet, the entire amount of fuel your starship will be expended. So obviously, if some people have got 5,000 strength ships and the engine and stuff like that, and max out fuel, they've still got they'll get there way fast within an hour instead of 24 hours. So maybe 4 hours for a planet 5, but they have to make sure they've got enough warp state to make that worth it to economics. So that's where the gamification and the DeFi of finance side comes into play. Pretty cool. So that there, folks, is the planet. So hopefully that's helped there. Let's have a look at the ships. We're going to have a look at the ships here. We've got all these ships here. So pretty cool. This doesn't actually have all of them. We already looked through those on the planet here. If we go to ships, we actually can see them all now. This is the ships here. We've got the Shuttle, the Dragonfly, the Hercules, the Horizon. Now they all have, they're all slightly rarer or not as rare as each other. So you can check that on the status. We've got the Javelin, the Viper, the Starhammer, the Omen, the Vanguard, and the Pearl. So we're going to jump back to that. So those not disclosed here, but we can actually see all those now. So basically, create bonds, build a treasury, earn NFT ship parts. So that's pretty much how it works. With every $250 bond or more, a single starship part is granted a hull, a bridge, or an engine. And of course, we've seen those here. One of these parts here. Another way of looking at those is one of these parts here. So pretty cool. And what else we got to show? Starship is granted a hull, a bridge, and an engine. So not only when you bond do you get a discount to market buying your warp, but you also get the ship part NFT as a bonus. Combine one of these type to make a starship, then you'll fuel your ship with fuel cells. The fourth type of NFT are given while bonding. Best part NFTs can be sold on OpenSea to buy parts you need, or you can sell your ship part NFT to another user who needs it, creating an active secondary marketplace for starships parts between captains. And obviously you can trade parts and ships on OpenSea. We're going to check that out later in the live stream. Once 40,000 starship parts have been minted, which would allow for 10,000 starships. So that's the maximum season 1. Only fuel cells will be minted going forward. So they're the only thing that's unlimited. Each season of Warp contains 10,000 ships comprised of 10 ship archetypes. See the website for details. Obviously, we've got all those archetypes here. Here are the 10 that we've just looked at. So very cool. With Warp, 1,000 ships are exclusive mints and 100 are ultra rare special editions. Seasons also include new planets that unlocked every 10 days or 2 whole bond cycles. So a bond cycle is 5 days. That's where you make a bond, you get tripped over 5 days, your warp, and then you can stake that. The other thing, of course, is so that's going to be 10 days between planets. So we had the first day, we had 10 days plus 2 days, it's 12. So it's probably 10 days every one after that. So there'll be another planet coming up sooner than later. With Warp, users will build starships that allow them to travel between multiple staking pools. With each new planet that is released, each planet represents a different staking pool with a different APY bonus. Each season will introduce a new functionality in the ecosystem to make the ships continue to be rare and valuable. Season 1 brings planet traveling. Season 2 brings ship battling to earn bonus Warp. Now, ship battling has been brought forward into Season 1. We are expecting that in a week or two or something like that. So we're looking forward to that. Warp seasons keep people coming back for more bonds and NFTs as ecosystem matures and grows. If demand is high enough, more ships can be minted by accelerating the next season launch. So very exciting. So we've looked at planets, folks. We've looked at ships, and of course there are ship parts, and you get these when you bond. Your DAI. We've checked that all out. So very, very cool. And we're just going to quickly go through this so that you get an idea of what this is all about. We have pretty much 3 parts. What is a Starship Bridge? Starship Bridge is where you and your fellow comrades and will navigate the stars together. This is where you will spend a lot of your time on board aboard your ships to travel to other galaxies. So that's the Starship part. And then, of course, this is the hull. The hull of your ship is where you and your crewmates will spend most of your downtime, whether playing games, eating, or just lounging around. The nicer your hull, the more comfort you can bring during FTL, which is your flight time there. Then the final part is the engine. Your engines are the most important part of your ship. Without them, you're stranded and lost in space forever. Make sure you fuel your engines before leaving a planet. We don't know what kind of horrors might be out between planets. And of course, you need the engine and the fuel is what determines how fast you get to new planets. That's a pretty crucial part to understand there. What fuel? Fuel cells, of course, they look pretty good. The fuel cell looks very futuristic. Fuel cells can be purchased by bonding for a value of $250 or more. If you bond 1,000 DAI worth of bonds in addition to warp you purchase, you receive 1,000 fuel points. In order to travel from planet A to planet B, a starship needs minimum 250 fuel. When traveling between your planets, your fuel will be expended. All right, so fueling up a starship with more than the minimum amount to travel from planet A to B will travel faster as they will be able to stay in FTL for a longer time period to other stars. So very, very cool. All right, so that's the summary of the parts. Of course, the economics of that is when you bond for more than $250, in other words, you're investing DAI or MAI or something like that, a Starship part NFT will be minted, and combining these parts will allow you to create the Starship and then begin to take part in other staking pools around your ecosystem. The Starship part strength, and this is very important, not only do you get a part, but of course, if you bonded more than $250, it's going to be a stronger part. Pretty much each Starship part, hull, bridge, or engine has a distinctive strength parameter between 250 and 5,000. And of course, when we go to OpenSea, we'll actually see how strong a particular part is, and based on how much someone bonded when they invested in to buy the warp that they bought off the market at discount. The strength is determined based on the bond value. A $250 bond will create a hull part with a strength of 250. A $5,000 bond will create a hull part with a strength of 5,000. 5,000 is the maximum strength the part can have. Meaning if you buy a bond of $10,000, you will receive a hull part with 5,000 strength only. Strength will play an important role in determining how powerful a starship is starting with Season 2. More information to come. So let's read that last bit because that was pretty interesting. Strength will play an important role in determining how powerful a starship is starting from Season 2. More information to come. The fuel cell is the only starship part that has a no cap. Buying a 10,000 bond will give you a fuel cell with 10,000 points. So remember that. So for the other parts, you might as well just max out at 5,000 if that's what you're looking at, a super powerful part. So folks, that is the NFT ecosystem. That's the metaverse. We've got the planets. We've got the ships. We've got the parts that you make a ship with. If you're going to do it that way, you can buy parts and buy ships off OpenSea, a secondary market, if you find good deals for you for that. So very cool. And obviously, we've got the basics here. Staking. Staking is pretty much where you're going to make all your rewards from. Okay, so staking is the primary value accrual strategy for Warp. So that's where you're going to earn Warp when you stake, and it's a pretty cool passive long-term strategy. So you want to play the game for a pretty decent amount of time to accumulate all that Warp. When you stake Warp, you lock your Warp and receive an equal amount of Warp. So it's got a few tokenomics difference there, but you can see that. So when you unstake, you burn Warp and receive equal amount of Warp. So some of the tokenomics there, just switching between tokens for the game. Pretty much it's going to be basically Warp. Multiple staking pools via planets, so you can go to multiple planets. We'll explain this in parts, but unlike other OHM forks, we will open up multiple staking pools, each with their own APY. So that's one of the special features of the Warp Bond game compared to other OHMs. There's no minimum staking duration. However, all stakes unstakes in 3 hour window. Last stake event will occur at 2% penalty. We've talked about that a couple of times. If you stake and then unstake before 3 hours is out, you will get that burn. It's a deflationary measure against the token inflation. So it's basically two deflationary measures. If you unstake before 3 hours, you get a 2% penalty on your Warp. And that goes to a burn. And of course, if you sell your Warp on Sushi Swap, you get a 5% penalty on that. And that helps to have deflation in the market. So pretty cool. Now, rebase functionality, this is a term that you probably need to get familiar with. So every 8 hours, the rebase function distributes interest to stakers, okay, which is the S-Warp tokens. Shortly put, when you stake your deposit Warp, tokens into the staking contract and exchange, you receive SWARP tokens instead. This is how the staking functionality works. Just a mathematical trick really for you. You'll still get warp when you can't get out the other side. I staked 100 warp by depositing 100 warp tokens to the staking contract and received back 100 SWARP tokens in my wallet. So SWARP stands for staked warp. That's all it means. So it's just a bit of an accounting trick there. When the rebase function runs, all stakers' wallets balances increased by the interest they've earned. Let's assume that rebase function will offer you 1% interest. This will mean that your wallet balance will increase from 100 SWARP to 101 SWARP. So you're basically the earnings that you make every 8 hours gets compounded, added to your base amount, and then of course that's compounding because you make interest on interest. That's kind of the way that works. Now another important role the rebase function is accomplishing is to ensure that each liquid SWARP token is backed by one warp token in the staking contract, as you need to be able to unstake and convert SWARP to warp at a 1-to-1. So that's really that accounting trick that I told you about. That's pretty much what that is about. So cool. Now, how is interest stake is received being calculated? And this is probably the very important thing to understand is that the interest depends on several factors. Primarily, the total warp supply. Okay, how many warp tokens exist? It doesn't matter if they are staked or not. Okay, so the total supply of warp. The liquid SWARP supply, how much warp is being staked since interest is being distributed just to stakers. And their reward weight configured interest rate parameter. Let's assume that we have 1,000 warp total supply and our reward rate is 0.3%. This will mean that once the rebase function happens, we will distribute, I should say, 1,000 times 0.3 or 3 warp tokens to stakers. Those 3 warp tokens are then being distributed amongst all the liquid warp supply by increasing the stakers' wallets SWARP balance by the corresponding ratio, as well as increasing the staking contract warp balance with these 3 token warps. So we are minting a total of 3 warp tokens as well as 3 SWARP tokens to distribute to stakers. So they have to keep that in balance. Another important factor is how much interest stakers receive as bonds. Selling bonds, which means a warp total supply increases. The higher the supply gets, the higher that the 0.3 rate is going to be. If we sold 500 warp through bonds, the total supply increased from 1,000 to 1,500 warp. As such, interest stakers now receive 0.3 of 1,500 instead of 1,000. Thus, they will earn 5 warp versus 3 warp on our previous example. So that's kind of how the staking works. Obviously, to get a bond, we've already talked through the bonds. So I don't know if there's anything there that I need to talk about. No, we'll jump over through the tokenomics and just have a look there. We've already talked about the beginning of the launch here. All the details is the starting balance. You can actually pause the video if you want to have a look at that again. I will leave the link to this in the video description, of course. You can see the Warp website, which has this on it too. This is the Git book that you can find. Game theory, we won't go through that, but basically game theory is basically if everyone's staked, then the rewards are going to be better. It's going to be more scarce. If everyone's selling, then obviously it's going to be worse for everybody. So the best thing is if most people are staking in the game. The worst thing is if people are selling in the game. So you really want to get that reinvestment and staking going on. And then you've got sort of a middle case there in game theory. That's pretty much the summary of that. Cool. They've got the contracts, of course, all the different contracts that are on there. So if you want to check all these out, you can on, of course, Polygon scan. And because it's obviously on the Polygon network, you can see all the contracts there. Very good disclosure, very transparent, very, very cool indeed. All right, so that's all the cool stuff there. There are video tutorials, of course, you can watch. So I won't go through all those, but you've got all those there and some how-to guides. So hopefully this has fleshed out maybe a few things that you hadn't seen. Maybe it's helped. And of course, you can pause the video, watch a bit of that back, and read it for yourself as well if you need to. Pretty cool. All right, there's a couple other how-tos there as well. We're not going to go through those. The website itself has an FAQ, and you can go through that, general starships and stuff like that. So you can check that out. But we went through the big library today. I thought we had to do that at some stage. So very, very cool. Let's jump over to the OpenSea, of course. If you don't want to do bonds, you can actually have other strategies. And of course, we're talking about captain strategies, tokenomics, and benefits. So we're going to have a look at other strategies. You can actually buy in the primary and secondary market. So maybe you don't want to do some bonds and get some random parts and do it that way. Because obviously, if you do your own bonds, if you are bonding, and then in here, if you are doing your own bonds, you can actually determine the strength of your bond parts and therefore the strength of your random parts that you're going to get in your ship. So that sort of influences that. But if you want to buy off the market, you'll have to just see what's for sale. You don't know how strong that part is or whatever, so you have to take that into account. The cheapest one at the moment, I'm just going to refresh this, and these are the actual ship for sale. So we're going to see at the moment what this is. So I'm going to explain the top here. This is Warship Starship, so this is the category that you want to look at. And of course, 778 items in there. Now, not all of them will be for sale. Only the ones at the top will be for sale. The owners, 422 owners. The floor price is, which is the cheapest price you can buy part, is 0.031 floor price. And of course, the volume traded is 2.3. So 2.3 ETH here has been traded. You can just highlight over there to get the sum there. Very, very cool. You got all the items at the top, all the cheapest ones at the top pretty much. And of course, you got the activity. If you want to see what's been trading, you got a nice chart there. You got the average price and average volume. And then you've got all these parts that have been selling. So 17 hours ago, 2 parts were sold. 2 ships were sold here, 150, 170. So you can sort of have an idea of what the prices are. You can also look at the chart and you can change the chart parameters. Pretty cool. You can also change a few other things here as well. But we're going to have a look at the items and have a look at the ship parts. But before we do that, let's get into some of the comments. Just make sure I'm up to date there in the comments. Kim says, buyback. I just noticed she's hiding in the garden. Nice one there, Kim. And some people just buy and accumulate the NFTs for long term. That's right, Solix, they do that too. So very cool. Right, so let's have a look at this Starship here. We've got this one for 100. There's 100 dies. You got to just go over the icon there, see what that is. So we've got 100 die on here. We'll jump on here and have a look at this. So 100 die. This is ship number 8696. So quite high up there in the ship number. Properties, it's a Viper. It's 11% have this trait. So it's sort of maybe averagely rare, maybe about average. And of course, it's Warp, 79% have this. And of course, which means it's part of the Warp is the main brand, but there's a lot of strategic partners. We talked about that earlier. Where do we go to partners here? We've got partners. So some of the partners actually have their own branded ships. And so you can see that here that if this was a partner one, they would have the branded ship there, but this is part of Warp. So it's one of the main, so pretty much 79% have this trait. This one is Dr. Earth. So you can actually filter whether Dr. Earth or Proxima B. So if we actually go to the actual place there on the map there, you can see, are they Dr. Earth or are they Dr. Proxima B? And why is that important? Because we know Proxima B has a higher APY, so you're going to get a better return if you've got a ship docked there, right? So if you're buying a ship there already, you don't have to travel there, don't need the fuel. You can get the APY, just get your Warp stake there. You can buy Warp on Sushi Swap, wherever you want to get it. You can buy it discounted by buying off of a bond. So you got, if you want to get a lot of Warp there to invest. So pretty cool. Obviously, you're going to get a bonus NFT part if you do bonding. So that's pretty cool too. Now, awesome. So if you go to the stats, you can actually see the stats of the parts. So we've got a bridge, 252 of 500. So that's the minimum. We've got engine integrity, 252, 5,000. We've got no fuel in here. So that's maximum 6083 on here. I don't think there's actually a limit, but that's what it says, 6083. Hull integrity, 5,000, 251. And of course, the ship integrity, that's adding up all the 3 parts. 755 over 15,000. So this is kind of a minimum ship. Of course, this will get you there and it will get you to the planet, but it will take 24 hours or longer, depending on how far out your planet is that you're going to. Planet 2, 3, or 4, or 5, whatever. So just take that into account. We can see the history of this part as well here as well, so you want to see that. So cool. You can do a buy now, of course. You just link up your wallet on OpenSea. Pretty cool. Now, that is that ship. So you can actually look out for, maybe you're looking for some better ships. You can actually change the filters here on the type. So you can do type of ship. Remember, there's 10 base ships or 10 archetypes for season 1. And you can look at the brand. You can find the Warp, of course, or some of the partnerships there. So you can find some of these. Obviously, let's choose Axion. We'll see that these ships should have Axion on them. So yeah, this one here is pretty cool. You can see Axion pretty clearly on this one. And look at that, it's got Axion on there. It's a pretty nice looking ship, actually, to be honest. But this is not for sale, but you can make an offer. So some of the ships are not for sale, but you can make an offer. Just take that into account. What else? So this one here's got a price on there, 31,500 on the Dragonfly. I'm not sure how powerful that is. Let's have a look to see, but that's actually worth that amount, 31,500. No, that's certainly not worth that price, but it is probably fairly rare. Let's have a look at the rarity on that. 10% have a Dragonfly, 1% have the Axion trait, so it is rare from a brand point of view. So only 1% have that trait, so it is Doctor on Earth. So let's see whether they actually sell that for that. All right, so cool. Let us jump on. All right, obviously, other things we've got is that we can take off the brand. We'll get all the brands back. We can also filter on other stuff. We can do Dock Planet. This is very important, right? So if you want to get on a high yield planet, you want to buy a ship that's already there. That way you don't have to pay fuel, etc. So you could just look out for Proxima B. Looks like we've got quite a few ships for sale there. Yeah, we've got at least up to this point. These ones aren't for sale, but everything below this is up for sale. And of course, the cheapest price is at the beginning. But once again, you just don't know what the strength of each ship is going to be. So take that into account. But that's pretty cool. So 122 to get on Proxima B. That's a pretty good buy. So there we are. So you have to add up, put your spreadsheet together, this looks like a pretty good buy, and you could probably get that on there as well. So nice. Has that actually got a brand? Yeah, it's a Warp brand, Proxima B. So that's actually fairly attractive if you're looking to stay on Proxima B for a while. What else we got going? You can also search by the price, of course, the other stuff. So there's also Origin, Polygon, of course. What else we got? Bridge integrity. You can actually scroll the bridge integrity. You can actually look at a range between the max and minimum, or you can do the minimum to a range there, or you can go all the way back to the max. You can go from the max down there with the scroll bar, or you can just type it in manually. How strong you want your bridge to be. Obviously, the stronger it is, likely that's how much people invested. So you find a part with 5,000, that means they've invested $5,000 worth into that part. So just take into account the ship will be more expensive from that point of view. So cool. Most ships you're going to find have got bonds of 250, but you will find some big, pretty powerful ships that large investors have invested in. So just take that into account. There will be ships out there, but in due course, they'll be charging for that as well. The engine integrity. Now, obviously, the engine is a big factor in space travel. So this is probably going to be the most contested aspect, is the engine's integrity. There will be spaceship battles in the future. So no doubt that the bridges and the hull integrities are going to be very important for the space battles. And of course, factions as well. So waiting for that. As Soliak said earlier, that's definitely going to be a case for that. So nice. We've also got obviously engine integrity. We've got fuel cells. This is going to be a popular one as well. You can change the range. Maybe you're looking for something with a big amount of fuel in there. Remember, when you travel between planets, you can set the amount of fuel, minimum 250. So even if you've got a fuel cell with say 3,000 points or dollars on it, then you can actually just set 2,150 and just use it slowly over time is the way. And you can also refill it. Hull integrity tools, you can check for that. And of course, the overall ship's integrity, that's the sum of the bridge, the engine, and the hull. And that you can search for that too, just by scrolling that between 15,000, which is the maximum. 15,000 is the max. So pretty cool. Looks like there's two ships there at 15,000. Let's have a look at this one. This is a Pearl. There's only 5% of ships have this trait. This is the rarest one out of the 10 archetypes. And the status here, look at this, very powerful. Bridge is 1,000 to 5,000, so that's not the max. But the engine integrity is 5,000 out of 5,000. That's very powerful. The ship integrity, the hull integrity is 5,000. That's maxed out too. And the ship integrity, 11,000 out of 1,500, 15,000. So pretty cool. Now, when there's going to be ship battles, of course, people will, weaker ships will be able to attack bigger ships, and they have a relative chance of winning. Bigger ships won't be able to attack weaker ships unless the weaker ship agrees to the battle. So there's going to be some crazy stuff out there. We don't know too much about that. We know there's going to be a lot of prizes and a lot of gamification to that. So we'll look forward to that for sure. But that is something that's coming down the pipeline pretty soon. We understand they've brought that forward from season 2 into season 1. So we are expecting that in a week or two. So it should be pretty exciting to see that. Now those are the ship's parts, folks. You can go through pretty much and have a shop and try and find a nice cheap part. You can actually get a pretty good yield from that. But of course, here is the ship parts. You can also do the similar. We've got the type, of course, down here. You can actually search just by the part that you're after. And of course, you can search by the strength of that part. So that's the other feature you can do as well. So you can actually start shopping. Obviously, the cheapest things are at the top here. You can get bridges and stuff down at 44. So this is kind of the cheapest that I've seen it. Earlier in the days, we had parts at 44. They went up to like $70, $80, and now they're back to 44. So the market will, secondary market will fluctuate. But you might be able to find a real bargain in here. And that's the thing you want to look out for, is that you get a bargain with some really good strength in here. So maybe the standard is 250. So maybe you're trying to get something that's 500 to 750. Maybe you could get 500 to 750. And or maybe 5,000. Yeah, I'll do 550 to 880. Looks like we've got some stuff here. Fuel cell at 150 there. That might pay off for you. So you have to think about the economics of that. We've got an engine part here that might definitely pay off. Let's have a look at that. So this is $383. What's the power? It's got 729. So that's about half price of what you'd be able to get that randomly bonded. You have to take that into account. So very cool. So there's some stuff you can do there, folks. And of course, let's have a look at the market price of warp. Market price of warp at the moment, $356.46 is what a warp is worth at the moment. This is on the hourly. Let's go to the daily. Obviously, warp has been around for a certain amount of time. Now, this chart isn't entirely accurate because it doesn't have the highest price, which was over 3,000. But it does have the amount of days that we've been live so far. So we've been live for 14 days. So the project's been live for 14 days. And of course, there has been some profit taking there. And it looks like we're just trying to find the bottom in the market at the moment. So $356 per warp at the moment to get in there. So definitely some good value at the moment to try and pick up stuff. So we'll find out whether this, but a pretty good entry price for new investors from the looks of it. We'll just have to wait and see where the price ends up on there. All right, so cool. We've got new planets opening up, of course, every 10 days. And we've got spaceship battles coming up as well. So this is something to look forward to. Let's jump back to, actually, let's do the liquidity on here. We're going to jump out of there, and we've got total liquidity of $1,084,000. So it's pretty good on liquidity side. This is not the treasury. This is the liquidity in the CC swap pool. Daily volume is 50,000. So that's still looking reasonable. And what else we got going? Let's have a look at that actually. We've got 50,000. That looks pretty normal. What did we have yesterday? We had 74, 5,000, 50,000 at the moment, 75 yesterday, 70,000 day before, 163,000 day before that on the big green candle. We had a big buyer. They also sold 2 days later, I think it was. Before that, we had 32,000, 54,000, 16, 36,000, and so on. So today's, probably about average at the moment. Today's probably around about average with the 50,000. We got 543,000 DAI in the pool. And what we got? We got 1,529 warp in the pool. And the market cap at the moment is 1.3 million US dollars. Very cool. What else we got going there? Circulating supply is 3,656 warp, and one ETH at the moment will get you just under 9 warp, or 8.9 warp per ETH at the moment. So it gives you the headline numbers. Let's jump back to the actual dashboard. We're going to go through the dashboard. So we've looked at pretty much everything around the ecosystem. I do strongly suggest that if you're going to play GameFi, it's gamification and decentralized finance, which is what this project is. It is an OHM project. Basically, it builds itself around a treasury. So when you invest, your investment goes in a treasury. In return, you get warp tokens. That gives you also a bonus NFT part if you're bonding, and you can start building ships and send the ships. You can also buy the ships, obviously, on OpenSea. That's kind of a summary, and you've got to go to the planets, get the high APY, and play the game over time to really capture all the APY and pay off your capital costs, pay off fuel costs, and get that profit taken over. So you got a lot of variables you got to think about. That is the gamification or GameFi aspect to it. Pretty cool. Let's go into the chat there. We've got a couple of comments there going, yes, for the bear market to sell, says Kim. And all bear market. Yeah, it could be a bear market there, Kim. I'm having a few chugs there. Crypto Casino's in the house. Morning all. Hey, Crypto Casino. Grabbing a coffee. Hey, nice one, CC. Morning, CC, says John. John says, I'm going to have to concentrate on my work now. I have to watch this from the start later. Thank you, man. Hey, John, appreciate you jumping in there. As always, a big shout out to the Axiom Token members, John and Crypto Casino. Let's go through the wrap up here. We're just coming up to an hour, 57 minutes. So we're just coming up to an hour. We're going to just go into here and then we're going to finally end up on Discord for our wrap up there. So market cap at the moment, market price, $355 for warp. The market's still trying to find the bottom at the moment. So it gives new entrants, new investors a very good opportunity to come in at the right time. Market cap is 1.3 million. Circulating supply 1,276 warp is in circulating. Total supply 3,674 is the total amount of warp out there. Total burned is 95 warp has been burned. Remember, that's 5% of what people sell on Sushi Swap, and also 2% if they if they unstake early here before 3 hours. They get that penalty. So that's pretty much what goes into the burn there. Treasury balance is almost 1.6 million. That's beautiful. And of course, that's made up of this MI and DAI and warp DAI tokens that pretty much, or at least this MI and DAI that gets wrapped up into the treasury. When you invest, you basically get warp at a discount, and that money that you invested goes into the treasury there. So 1.6 million looking pretty healthy. In fact, it's bigger than the market cap of 1.3 million. So it's interesting how this is going to move around with the price of warp and the expectations, perceptions that people have. Total locked value is $454,000 US dollars in locked, and we know where that is, right? We've got 115,000 locked on Earth and 338,500 locked on Proxima B. That is our total value locked there. That's how that is made up of those 2 planets. Obviously, we're going to have 5 planets in season 1. Then season 2 will have more planets and so on. And so you're going to see the total lock value go up. No doubt you'll see everything go up depending on the market price of warp. But the actual treasury will continue to go up as people invest, and that mark will always go up. So pretty cool. Now, the current index on Earth is 1.68. Obviously, it's 1.06 on Proxima B planet. and the backing per warp is $1,244. Now, this is the treasury balance of 1.6 million divided by the circulating supply. So some people, and probably this is better to have a backing per warp based on the treasury divided by the total supply of warp. It's probably a better number, but this is interesting at the moment, 1,200. So if you did that, you'd probably bring it down similar to the warp price. Let's actually do that now live while we're here doing this, since we're covering everything in the ecosystem pretty much, at least most of the stuff for sure. We've got the treasury balance at 1588 and 937, and we're going to divide that by the total supply, which is 3674, and that gives us a price of $432. So that implies that the market price at the moment is minus 355. That implies that the market price at the moment is $78 below its backing, its treasury backing. So the market price could feasibly be $78 higher than it is at the moment. But once again, market prices can be anything. It really depends on supply and demand. But from a treasury own point of view, it's definitely $77.50. It could be $77 higher there. Cool. All right. So ships built, 778 ships built so far. Very, very cool. Now we know a maximum amount of ships could be 10,000. Remember, so 10,000. Parts remaining 28,000. We started off with 30,000. This excludes the fuel. We got 10,000s for the hull, 10,000s for the bridge, etc. So and 10,000 for the engine. So almost 2,000 parts have been sold just here, and that excludes the engines. Okay, so 10,000s of the main ship parts. We've got the APY on Earth at 3.865% and Proxima B 16,757. So that, folks, is the results there. Looking pretty cool. Hope you guys have learned a lot of stuff, and maybe some stuff that you hadn't read. Maybe you'd read a lot of stuff and seen stuff there. Hopefully that's been a pretty help. I was hoping to get some warps Starship captains on the live stream. No one seems to be up to it at the moment. Maybe they're busy flying through space at the moment. Maybe, with the old Starship there. Maybe they're sitting back having a few vodkas in the old lounge there on the there as well. So who knows? But we'll try and get some warp captains on here sooner than later and get some of their expenses for sure. So let's jump over to Discord, and we're here in the general chat there. So if you haven't got the Discord, of course, get into warp, get in there chatting with everybody here. You can see lots of people for sure. You can see the video that we've looked at here. All the Starship fleets there jumping from planet to planet. Pretty cool. And trying to get Starship captains on to talk about the experience. We're going to get some eventually. We'll definitely get some of them to talk about it for sure. Because Crypto says, morning, John. Nice one. And it's looking pretty good. Hey, so folks, we've been up here for an hour. Hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to make sure that you join the Discord. I've got all the social links for Warp Bond in the video description. But definitely check that out. And of course, check out the announcements and social official links. Very, very cool in here. Lots of good stuff happening for sure, and lots of new strategic partners. Hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Feel free to subscribe, like, share, hit the bell, and definitely smash that like button and leave any comments would be really cool. But subscribe and like would be fantastic. I will respond to any comments that you have as well, and I will catch you in the next one for sure. I hope you enjoyed this one. Bye for now. Take care.